Have you ever felt the weight of a childhood stolen before its time, the invisible scars that whisper of innocence lost in the shadows of premature responsibility, the silent cry of a soul forced to become an adult when it was still meant to dream and play, the profound wound of a child whose tender spirit was crushed beneath the heavy expectations of a world too harsh, too demanding, too unforgiving, each memory a fragment of a broken mirror reflecting the fragmented self that emerged from those early years of unexpected maturity. Imagine a young soul standing at the precipice of childhood and adulthood, not by choice but by cruel necessity, the internal landscape a battlefield where innocence wages a desperate war against premature wisdom, where the soft, tender shoots of emotional development are forced to become hardened roots, anchoring a being far too young to understand the depth of its own survival mechanism. The mind becomes a fortress constructed from survival instincts, a complex architecture of defense mechanisms built not with bricks and mortar but with layers of suppressed emotions, unspoken traumas, and silent adaptations. In the dark recesses of memory live the ghosts of stolen moments, those precious fragments of childhood that were never allowed to breathe, never permitted to exist, the laughter that was swallowed, the play that was interrupted, the dreams that were quietly suffocated by the sudden weight of adult responsibilities. These stolen moments create an internal landscape of profound complexity, a psychological terrain where the child who was forced to grow up too soon walks like a permanent stranger within their own being, always slightly displaced, always feeling the invisible weight of premature maturity. The body remembers what the mind attempts to forget. Each muscle, each breath carries the imprint of those early years of unexpected burden. Trauma becomes not just a memory but a living presence, a constant companion whispering its narratives through subtle sensations, unexplained anxieties, sudden moments of inexplicable vulnerability. The child who grew up too soon learns to move through the world with a peculiar grace, a mixture of hypervigilance and profound exhaustion, and unconscious adaptation that speaks volumes about the internal struggle. And if these words awaken something inside you right now, allow yourself to respond with a small gesture of presence, maybe a like or a brief reflection. And if you feel that this journey speaks to something deep within you, subscribe so we can continue exploring these inner landscapes together. The psychological architecture of premature maturity is not a simple structure, it is a complex maze of survival mechanisms where each corridor, each hidden room represents a different strategy of emotional protection. The child who grows up too soon learns to become a master of internal negotiation, constantly mediating between the wounded inner child and the forced adult persona, creating elaborate defense mechanisms that become both shield and prison. Imagine the mind as a vast house where certain rooms remain permanently locked, the doors of childhood carefully sealed to prevent the flood of unprocessed emotions. These locked rooms contain the most vulnerable parts of the self, the parts that were never allowed to fully develop, the parts that continue to exist in a state of perpetual suspension, waiting for a moment of safety, a moment of true healing, a moment when the burden of premature responsibility can finally be set down. The world sees strength where there is actually profound adaptation, the external appearance of competence masking an internal landscape of deep unresolved complexity. Each accomplishment, each moment of apparent maturity becomes both a testament to survival and a silent cry for the childhood that was never fully lived. The psychological price of growing up too soon is not paid in a single moment but through a lifetime of subtle negotiations with an internal reality that never quite matches the external expectations. The landscape of trauma unfolds like a map drawn in invisible ink, revealing its contours only to those who have learned to see beyond the surface of apparent functionality. Here in the deeper territories of psychological experience, the wounds of premature adulthood pulse with a rhythm both ancient and immediate, a silent symphony of survival that plays beneath the skin of consciousness. Each breath carries the weight of unspoken narratives, each movement a testament to the complex dance between survival and suppression. Imagine the internal world as a theatrical stage where multiple versions of self perform simultaneously: the wounded child, the forced adult, the hidden dreamer, the silent observer, each character moving with a precision born of necessity, each gesture a carefully choreographed response to years of unexpected pressure. The mind becomes a complex mechanism of adaptation, creating intricate pathways of emotional survival, pathways so sophisticated, so nuanced that they become invisible even to the self that constructed them. The body holds memories that language cannot touch, deep somatic landscapes where trauma resides not as a memory but as a living, breathing entity. Muscles carry tension like encrypted messages. Skin remembers touches that were inappropriate, boundaries that were violated, spaces that were never truly safe. These bodily memories speak a language more profound than words, a language of sensation, of instinct, of primal protection, a language that whispers of survival strategies developed in moments of vulnerability. Childhood becomes not a time of innocence but a battlefield where survival was the primary language learned, survival not as a choice but as an imperative, a fundamental requirement for emotional and sometimes physical preservation. The child forced to grow up too soon develops a remarkable sensitivity, an almost supernatural ability to read environments, to anticipate dangers, to navigate complex emotional terrains with a skill that both protects and isolates. If you feel these insights stirring something within you, share your voice and support this space with a like. These reflections help others find their way through the same shadows. And if you wish to keep walking with us through these deeper layers of the mind, join us by subscribing. The psychological wounds of premature maturity manifest in countless subtle ways. Relationships become complex territories of negotiation. Intimacy transforms into a landscape of careful calculation. Trust becomes a currency traded with extraordinary caution. The individual who grew up too soon learns to move through emotional spaces with the precision of a master strategist, constantly assessing, constantly protecting, constantly negotiating the delicate balance between vulnerability and survival. Repressed memories drift like phantom limbs through the internal landscape, fragments of experiences too painful to be fully remembered yet too powerful to be completely forgotten. These memories exist in a state of perpetual suspension, neither fully present nor entirely absent, creating internal weather systems of unexplained emotions, sudden triggers, unexpected waves of grief or anger that emerge without apparent warning. Dreams become the primary sanctuary where the suppressed child can finally speak, where the locked rooms of the internal house can momentarily open, where the true depth of unprocessed experience can breathe and reveal itself. In these nocturnal landscapes, the forced adult loses control, the carefully constructed defenses soften, and the raw, unfiltered experience of the wounded child emerges in symbolic, powerful narratives that speak a language beyond words. The world of external perception and internal reality create a constant negotiation, a complex dance where appearance and essence move in intricate counterpoint. What appears as strength is often a sophisticated form of protection. What seems like emotional stability is frequently a carefully maintained illusion, a delicate balance maintained through continuous internal work, through constant vigilance, through an almost superhuman capacity for emotional regulation. Healing becomes not a destination but a continuous journey, a profound process of gradually dismantling the intricate defense mechanisms created in moments of survival, a process of learning to trust not just the external world but the internal landscape of experience. Each moment of vulnerability becomes an act of radical courage, each step towards authentic feeling a revolutionary gesture against the early conditioning of premature maturity. The shadow emerges not as a darkness to be feared but as the most profound teacher, the silent messenger carrying the most intimate truths of our fractured existence. Here in the deepest terrain of psychological awakening, the masks fall away, the elaborate constructions of survival dissolve, and the raw essence of human experience reveals itself in its most naked, vulnerable state. This is the moment of true confrontation where the forced adult and the wounded child meet in a landscape beyond time, beyond narrative, beyond explanation. Imagine pain not as an enemy but as a language, a complex communication system through which the suppressed self speaks its most fundamental truths. Each tremor, each hidden wound, each unexpressed emotion carries a melody, a profound symphony of survival that has been playing silently within the internal chambers of being. The body becomes a living archive storing not just memories but entire universes of unspoken experience, entire galaxies of emotion compressed into microscopic moments of sensation. The psychological landscape transforms into a terrain of extraordinary complexity where every defense mechanism, every survival strategy becomes visible in its profound beauty and devastating fragility. Survival is not a linear journey but a constant dance of negotiation, a moment-by-moment navigation through internal landscapes more intricate than any external geography, more challenging than any physical terrain, more demanding than any visible battle. Trauma moves through the system like a river, underground, invisible yet profoundly transformative, carving new paths, creating unexpected connections, dissolving old boundaries, revealing hidden territories of experience. The forced maturity that once seemed like a protective armor now reveals itself as a delicate, intricate web of adaptations, a complex system of survival that both protected and limited the essential self. In this deepest layer of psychological exploration, the distinction between pain and healing becomes meaningless. They are not opposing forces but fundamental aspects of the same profound transformative process. The wounded child, the forced adult, the silent observer all merge into a singular consciousness, a moment of extraordinary integration where fragmentation gives way to a more holistic understanding of human experience. The internal landscape breathes with a rhythm beyond individual experience, a collective pulse that connects personal suffering with a more universal narrative of human resilience. Each moment of forced adaptation, each strategy of survival becomes a testament to the extraordinary capacity of human consciousness to transform, to adapt, to find meaning in the most challenging of circumstances. Memories no longer function as fixed narratives but as living, breathing entities that shift and transform with each moment of awareness. The past is not something that happened but a continuous process of interpretation and reintegration, a dynamic field of energy that can be reshaped, reimagined, reconstructed through conscious presence, through profound compassionate awareness. The psychological wounds that once seemed like insurmountable barriers now reveal themselves as portals of transformation, gateways to a more authentic, deeper, more profound understanding of self. Each painful memory, each suppressed emotion, each forgotten moment of vulnerability becomes an opportunity for radical healing, a chance to rewrite the internal narrative, to reclaim the stolen territories of experience. Consciousness expands beyond individual experience, touching something more profound, something that transcends personal history, something that connects the individual journey with a more universal understanding of human suffering and human potential. The boundaries between personal and collective experience begin to dissolve, revealing a more interconnected, more compassionate understanding of human experience. In the soft light of understanding, healing emerges not as a destination but as a continuous unfolding, a gentle awakening of the true self long hidden beneath layers of survival and protection. The journey through the landscape of premature maturity reveals itself as a profound transformation, a metamorphosis where the wounds of childhood become the very source of wisdom, the very ground of compassionate self-understanding. The fragmented self begins to reassemble not as a return to an imagined innocence but as a creation of something entirely new, a more integrated, more authentic presence that honors both the wounded child and the resilient adult. Each moment of pain, each strategy of survival becomes a thread in a larger tapestry of human experience, a complex, beautiful, intricate narrative of resilience, of transformation, of profound inner strength. Healing is not about erasing the past but about creating a new relationship with experience, a profound dialogue between the different aspects of self. The locked rooms of childhood begin to open not with violence or force but with gentle, compassionate awareness. Memories that once seemed threatening now become sources of insight, sources of profound understanding, sources of unexpected beauty. The body releases its long-held tensions, muscles soften, breath deepens, the internal landscape begins to breathe with a new rhythm, a rhythm of acceptance, of integration, of profound self-compassion. What once seemed like wounds now reveal themselves as portals of transformation, as gateways to a more authentic, more deeply felt experience of being alive. If you feel that this story helped you see your own inner landscape more clearly, offer a like and share your thoughts. And if you want this space to remain part of your journey ahead, subscribe. Together we continue the path of understanding, healing, and awakening. The distinction between pain and healing dissolves into a more profound understanding. Survival becomes not a strategy but a form of art, a complex, beautiful, intricate dance of consciousness. The forced maturity that once seemed like a burden now reveals itself as a profound teacher, a source of unexpected wisdom, a testament to the extraordinary capacity of human consciousness to transform. Forgiveness emerges not as a single moment but as a continuous process, a gentle ongoing dialogue with the self, a profound acceptance of the journey that brought you to this moment. The wounded child, the forced adult, the silent observer all find their place in a more expansive, more compassionate internal landscape, a landscape of profound understanding and radical self-love. The world begins to look different, perception shifts, understanding deepens. What once seemed like limitations become sources of strength, what seemed like wounds become portals of transformation. The psychological journey reveals itself as a sacred path, a profound opportunity for growth, for healing, for a more authentic, more deeply felt experience of being alive. Consciousness expands beyond individual experience, touching a more universal understanding of human resilience. The personal story becomes a thread in a larger tapestry of human experience, a testament to the extraordinary capacity for healing, for transformation, for profound self-understanding. The journey of healing continues not as a destination but as a continuous, beautiful unfolding of human potential. In this moment of profound integration, the true self emerges not as a fixed identity but as a living, breathing, dynamic process of becoming. The boundaries between past and present, between pain and healing, between individual and collective experience begin to dissolve, revealing a more interconnected, more compassionate, more profound understanding of what it means to be fully alive. If something in these words stirred a truth inside you, don't ignore it. Follow the channel and continue this inner journey with me. You were never meant to walk it alone.